Is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a moment I'm never going to forget, because tonight hundreds of Republican members of Congress are wanting to line up to vote for the biggest transfer of wealth from the working poor and the working class to billionaires and mega corporations that we've seen in this country's history. This is a deep moment of betrayal, a complete absence of loyalty to the people that we represent, and an abandonment of the values of hard work and dignified life. Mr. Speaker, I'm 28 years old. My generation already expects that we'll never be able to afford a home, to get out of debt, to retire, to live comfortably. And no, it's not because we've lived beyond our means, but it's because we've been denied the means to live. Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are making it worse, gutting Medicaid and food assistance to give tax cuts to billionaires and special interests. And all of the things that you could give tax breaks for, this bill will cut taxes on silencers for guns.
We know Republicans are liars, but we also know that they are not very good at it when pressed. They crumble. When given the opportunity to defend their actions, they refuse. And that is exactly what we just saw as the backlash from the House Big Beautiful Bill passage continues to mount, with Republicans quite literally unable to speak when confronted over what is in this bill and how it will hurt our country. We're going to get into it all. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we get into Greg Casar, who called out MAGA Republicans in Congress, leaving them speechless, I want to start with what that was, that he called them out for, with a takedown from Jim McGovern right here.
But let's start with the big fat earmarks Republicans have got in here for polluters. Lots of pork for polluters in this bill. We've got corrupt pay-to-play schemes that let polluters buy immunity from lawsuits, cut corners on environmental reviews, and skip the legal permitting process. Did ExxonMobil come up with that one, or was it BP? Nice little giveaway to them tucked into this bill. That's on page 247 and page 600. Or what about the earmarks in here that will allow certain companies to exploit and pollute pristine public lands, including for a coal mine owner with criminal convictions for environmental and safety violations? Did he just text Republicans the language of that earmark, or did they draft it themselves? That's on page 559 for those following along at home. This bill even has a hitman handout. An earmark here gets rid of an excise tax on gun silencers. Who does that? That's page 1024. This has been in place for nearly 100 years and is a vital public safety measure. Over 400 silencers were found on or traced to violent crime scenes in 2023 alone. At least on that earmark, we know who asked for it, the NRA. And we know why Republicans complied, because they want to keep getting big fat checks from the gun lobbyists. I could go on and on and on, but this bill is loaded to the gills with giveaways to lobbyists, earmarks for special interests, and loopholes for the rich so they can get away with dodging their taxes.
This budget is a disaster. Republicans in the Senate are panicking because they know they cannot vote for it. You have Rand Paul, who we will hear from in a little bit, speaking out. You have Josh Hawley. You have Republicans who are Trump loyalists, like Ron Johnson, concerned about it, saying that it'll destroy the country for generations. And Republicans in the House who already voted for this bill know that, but they know they can't defend it. So when Greg Casar called them out for their attack on their own constituents, mind you, that's what this bill is. Their response: absolute silence. Take a listen to Greg Casar, leaving them unable to speak.
So I will hand the mic over, yield my time to any of my Republican colleagues that want to address the amount of money that their tax-paying citizens are going to have to pay in increased premiums for their health care. If anybody wants to mention, we have the numbers, everybody here has the numbers, how much your constituents are going to have to pay more every year in health care because of this bill. I know the numbers for my district. It's going to be a 50% increase, over $400 in my district. And that's actually not even close to how much in many of the Republican districts there's going to be an increase. I would yield the mic.
I think we're 78% in my district.
78% in Mr. McGovern's district. Maybe none of the Republican members want to mention it, but the Republican gentleman from New York, there would be a 44% increase, $2,000 a year hit to his constituents in their health care costs. The distinguished gentleman from Virginia, his constituents would face an increase in $770 a year in their health care premiums. The distinguished Republican chairwoman of this committee, a 60% increase in health care premiums, and that's on average. The distinguished Republican congresswoman here from Minnesota was recently told here by the committee on the budget that a 60-year-old couple with a joint income of $85,000 a year in her district would see an $11,000 a year increase in their costs while we're giving tax cuts to billionaires. And what bothers me the most is that we want to hide it. Nobody wants here to talk about the fact that they're jacking up insurance costs on their own constituents while giving a billionaire a tax break. Nobody on the Republican side pushing this bill wants to have an in-person town hall and look their constituents in the face and explain to them why they want to hand Elon Musk another $25 billion contract while jacking up your health insurance costs, not just by hundreds, but by thousands of dollars. I yield back.
The man offered up the mic, and Republicans had what to say. Nothing. It's just like Elon or Christy Nolan. They tout on Twitter or in their, photo ops. They're cosplaying. Oh, we're doing such a great job with Homeland Security. Lie, we're doing such a great job with Doge. Lie, but they won't come before Congress on their own and defend it. They have to be called before Congress, which Elon has not yet, which I don't know why. Don't you want to talk about those? Elon, oh, you don't. I wonder why that is. But Christine Noem can't even answer questions because she's such a failure. She's such a disaster. That is exactly what's happening with Megyn now. And why can't we talk about the very obvious fact that these cuts are going to disproportionately affect Republican voters? Huge portions of these state budgets are made up in federal funding that comes from Medicaid. You think California, New York, you think Colorado, these states, these blue states are as reliant on federal funding as Arkansas, Texas, Alabama. Come on. Now you're hurting your own constituents, yet they don't even care. Even though some actually do ran, Paul does, who has just become this anti-Trump Republican. Somehow, I would really hope he'd find his way and maybe consistently call him out. But listen to what he had to say about the budget.
The House bill is going to add about $4 trillion to the debt ceiling. The Senate bill adds $5 trillion. There's nothing fiscally conservative about expanding the debt ceiling more than we've ever done it before. This will be the greatest increase in the debt ceiling ever, and GOP owns this now. The deficit this year will be $2.2 trillion. The GOP owns that now too. But if you borrow $5 trillion and you have a $2.2 trillion deficit this year, means you're anticipating a $2.8 trillion deficit next year. There's just nothing conservative about borrowing $2 trillion a year. People are lost in this. Like, how much are the cuts? $800 billion to $1.5 trillion. What matters is how much comes in and how much goes out. What is the net? Is it positive or negative? And borrowing this money just isn't fiscally conservative. I've told them I can support the package if they separate the debt ceiling off and have a separate vote on that. I want nothing to do with that. I didn't vote for the spending. I didn't vote for the debt. And I'm not voting to make it easier on people who want.
Yes, of course it is a disaster. Have these people not realized that they have been supporting Donald Trump for the past 10 years? Of course it's a disaster. Of course it's harmful. Of course it is bad economic policy. Of course it is stupid. How can you not see that? Well, we all clearly can. And a generation of young people who are about to be disproportionately affected certainly do. And my congressman and the only Gen Z member of Congress, Maxwell Frost, called that out. Great takedown. Right here.
Mr. Speaker, this is a moment I'm never going to forget because tonight hundreds of Republican members of Congress are wanting to line up to vote for the biggest transfer of wealth from the working poor and the working class to billionaires and mega corporations that we've seen in this country's history. This is a deep moment of betrayal, a complete absence of loyalty to the people that we represent, and an abandonment of the values of hard work and dignified life. Mr. Speaker, I'm 28 years old. My generation already expects that we'll never be able to afford a home, to get out of debt, to retire, to live comfortably. And no, it's not because we've lived beyond our means, but it's because we've been denied the means to live. Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are making it worse, gutting Medicaid and food assistance to give tax cuts to billionaires and special interests. And all of the things that you could give tax breaks for, this bill will cut taxes on silencers for guns. For those who don't know, gun silencers can be attached to a gun to muffle the sound of a gunshot. These silencers make it harder to identify and respond to the source of the gunshots. Earlier, I put forth an amendment to strip this tax cut for the gun lobby, and House Republicans wouldn't even let it come up for a vote. And then the Republicans made the bill worse in their manager's amendment by making silencers completely unregulated. My question is, why did this get added to the bill just a couple hours ago? Which congressional Republican just couldn't stand to vote for the horrible bill until it promised even more death to people? And so, America, we got to be very clear and truthful about this budget. Laws for gun manufacturers to make more money off of the death of children and our people? Yes. Food for children to eat? No. Healthcare for seniors, disabled Americans, and millions more? No. Resources to help working families fight to ends meet? No. This is why they've been told to not host any town halls back in their districts. That's why this debate is happening in the middle of the night. It's nothing short of theft. And congressional Republicans are really helping me understand why half of this country doesn't vote. It's because they'll look people in the eyes and make promises only to come here in the middle of the night to advance a bill that will take away the benefits that they have earned. Republicans would have us believe that the person most likely to steal from you is a person in a hoodie, a black person in a hoodie, or an immigrant with tattoos. This is to distract from the fact that at least here tonight, the people stealing from Americans are not folks with tattoos and hoodies. It's people wearing suits and ties and congressional pins sitting in this Capitol right now. Not in some random alley wrapped in darkness, but in the United States Congress, wrapped in the flag. It is disgusting, and we will never forget this. I yield back.
We cannot stop hammering home the message of the disgrace that is this bill. We can't. We have to be on it all the time. We are certainly going to be on this show, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.